Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hello and welcome back to Congolish. I hope you're all doing very, very well today. I am Blondos, and for today's video, I thought I will give you a quick and brief overview of the history of the Democratic Republic of Congo from the pre-colonization time to now and look into the future. Now, before we go there, I kind of wanted to clear this question of Africa being a country. Now, let me just say, I live in the United Kingdom, where the level of education in this country is much higher than pretty much all African countries. The UK and England is regarded as one of the greatest countries in the world. This is because of its history, its culture, and the way it's promoted itself around the world, and everything else that the UK has done or keeps doing around the world. Now, I am quite confused and puzzled as to the level of, I wouldn't say ignorance, but how such less people in the general public know of anything to do with Africa, or what else is in the world, or what else is outside the UK. Many people just think of Africa, they think of safari, small villages, tribal people, things like that. Yes, although some of this is true, but Africa is not a country. It is a big continent with 54 countries and a lot of different cultures, thousands of languages, and plenty of good things to offer, and lots of cultural richness and history. So, yes, please do your research and learn what is going on, or learn what you need to know. Most of the history that we know of the Democratic Republic of Congo starts from the 14th century. I mean, there is a lot of history behind or prior to that, obviously, because life started in Africa. Obviously, there had to be some sort of life before the 14th century. But because of this much history has not been written, so we don't really know much of what happened or what it was like before 14th century. Now, I'm talking about the 14th century is a significant time because this guy, his name is D.R.Congo, he used to be one of the Portuguese Navy sailors. He went through the Atlantic and then got himself stuck in some place. Now, as he got stuck, looked around and discovered there was, sort of a river coming in to the Atlantic, and then he decided to sort of divert and moved up to check out what's going on and to see what the land is about, or if there's any people or not. And this river is now called the River Congo. It is one of the most well-known river in Africa, and it's big, and it's got a lot to offer and a lot of fish and a lot of stuff in it. Now, this is the one thing that puzzles me. So this guy, D.R.Congo, when I was in primary school back in Congo, they were telling me, or I was being taught in school, that this is the person who discovered the source of the River Congo. Now, I didn't question this when I was young, because obviously I was young and what I'm being taught is what I'm receiving. That's what I know. But growing up, and then I'm thinking, how ridiculous is this? Because this guy came into a country where he found people with their history and people living there and whatever they were doing, But then he is the guy that came in the 14th century to discover the source of the river. Well, these are the many rubbish or the many diverted stories that the colonization has done to us. Anyway, let's move on. The Democratic Republic of Congo, the land that we know of being the DRC today, is in the majority of it, composed of a big mixture of people. The biggest groups or the biggest empires and kingdom were this was a massive big kingdom that was governed and looked after by its people, right? One of their most well-known rulers was this guy called King Nzinga Nkuvu. Now, the Luba Empire was mainly people from sort of the center and east and a bit of the south, sort of the north of the region called Katanga today. These are the people that were there. One of their top leaders was Kongolo Mwamba, amongst many other ones that came through. Now, the Lunda Empire is mainly based in the south of Congo, so basically taking a bit of the center as well as the south of Congo and part of North Angola and northern Zambia as well. Ilunga Mbili Kilue was one of their greatest rulers and one of the empires, coming down to Kalala Ilunga. So the Luba kingdom or empire and the Lunda empire got mixed at one point. Then they created a one big Luba Lunda empire under the one ruler they call the Mwata Yamfu. And the Bakuba Empire mainly occupied the center of the Congo, a bit of the north. Most of the north of Congo was a big, massive forest. Now, there's been a little bit of some constructions here and there, but the Congo still has the second largest rainforest in the world after the Amazon. But you didn't know about that. So this also makes this country a very, very important country when it comes to climate change. Remember, in previous videos, I told you that the Democratic Republic of Congo is one of the most important countries in the world. Now, this is one piece of the puzzle. So that's very important, as well as many other minerals that the Congo has, and we will talk about this in future videos. Now, moving on from that history, now it comes to the colonization time. Just imagine some guys in Europe just someday wake up and just decide to, they say, oh, there's a land of Africa there. We're going to split it. We're going to share it. And everyone takes a piece of it. And then, so as if the people that lived in these places, this part of the world, had nothing to say about themselves. They had no rights for themselves. And you just had to go and take it. Anyway, so in 1885, this guy, his name was King Leopold II. Now, remember that all these leaders, all these countries sat down there to make decisions on who's going to take which part of Africa. And this guy, because he must have been very powerful at the time, he decided he is going to take this part of Central Africa that we call the DRC today as his personal property. Now, the DRC, as you can see here, this is the second largest country in Africa at the moment. We're talking about a space that is pretty much 10 times bigger than the UK. Much, much bigger than France and many other tens of countries of Europe combined. And this guy decides that this is going to be his personal property. Amazing. Right. So yeah. So from then on, he took on the ownership of the country. Obviously, killed many people through forced labor, slavery, beating up people, and he did so many bad things. He committed bad genocides, or he killed millions and millions and millions of people in the DRC. And these are stories, or these are things that we will be talking about in future, and there has to be reparations. Okay. And so he took ownership of the country from 1885 to 1908. So 1908 came, everybody decided that it's doing so much bad in the country, and let's not have him as the person owning this plot of land anymore. Let's give it to the country of Belgium. Now then, the Congo was then handed over to the Belgian government, who then governed the country from 1908 till 1960. In 1960, then the Congo independence came, and at which point where there was this guy here, Mr. Lumumba, and this guy, Mr. Kasavubu, went through elections. Mr. Kasavubu won the election as a president, and Mr. Lumumba's party won the majority of seats in the parliament. So then he became prime minister. But these two guys weren't in they weren't in good terms as such, because Mr. Lumumba was very much against the King Leopold II and Belgium altogether, because he was fighting that whatever they were doing to the country was bad and they needed to leave. Now, Mr. Kasavubu wasn't so much as of a hard on to kick these people out. We don't like them, but he was more of lenient to take things a little bit quietly. But they were both still fighting for their country. Now, because of Mr. Lumumba's stature at the time, he was very in position to not make the Belgians or the white people at that time secured or happy. He was assassinated in 1961, and he is now regarded as one of our heroes because he did fight for the country and he stood up for his people. Now, moving on from there, came the year the country was still going into turmoil, and then came the year 1965. 1965, then this guy was a general of the army. His name is Joseph Mobutu. He then did a coup to take away Mr. Kasavubu from his seat. So then he became president. Now he became president of the country, and then through his presidency in the 70s, he decided then to change the country's name to Zaire. Now, this country was prosperous at a time, and it actually then hosted the world's biggest boxing match ever between Muhammad Ali and George Foreman in 1974. This is where you hear the word people saying Ali Bomaye, Ali Bomaye. So these are our fathers, grandfathers, cheering and supporting Ali, to win against George Foreman at that time. Okay. Now, moving on from there, Mr. Mobutu became then a very great dictator, one of the most renowned persons in Africa. He was very powerful at a time, and he stayed in power for 32 years, from 1965 until 1997. But then prior to that, in the east of Congo, there was some unrest. In 1994, there was then the Rwandan genocide that you hear about. And so then people that ran away from that country moved on to Congo, and then the unrest also took massive place in Congo. Now ever since then, ever since 1994, the Rwandan genocide ended, but then the DRC people have been dying every single day from then on until right now. So this is why, one of those reasons I decided to start talking about these things, so then to let you know that you have to think of other people in other places while you're sitting here in peace, or you can have your fish and chips and be relaxed. Other people in the world do not have that chance, so you have to be grateful, and you also have to think of others. So in 1997, then the rebels at the time toppled the dictator, Mr. Mobutu. Then this guy, Mr. Laurent Desire Kabila, became the president of the Congo from 1997 until 2001, when he was assassinated. His son, Mr. Kabila, Joseph Kabila, then became president of the Congo. And so there was a time of transition between 2001 and 2005. And in 2006, then there was the first ever elections of the Congo, which Mr. Kabila was proclaimed the winner, but then other people say different things. And other people say that Jean-Pierre Bemba, who was his opponent at the time, won. But again, 2011, then there was another set of elections. Then Kabila was against this guy. Now, this person's name is Mr. Tshisekedi Wamulumba. And so this guy is also regarded as the father of democracy in Congo. And he didn't want to go to elections in 2006 because he thought the plans weren't put in place properly. But then he went to elections in 2011, at which he lost to Kabila, who was declared as the winner of the elections. Again, it's very, very controversial. Many people don't believe that Kabila won the elections. And so then we moved on. The third elections came in 2018, at which point then this guy, Mr. Tshisekedi, won the elections. He is our president right now, and in some ways there is hope. There is, a new person on the throne, a new person leading the country. So things are still, in bad position at the country at the moment, but at least there is hope that the new person who's got new ideas, new vision, that can make things a little bit better for these people. Yeah, so there you go. That's a brief, quick history of the DRC. I hope you learned something new today. Please don't forget to put a comment down below, ask a question, send a suggestion, or ask about anything that I didn't say about, or something I didn't say properly. So then, we're all here learning and improving together. Please remember to subscribe and press the notification button, so then you don't miss out on a video once it's posted. God bless. See you soon. Bye bye.